This is day 11 of 365, which means that I missed days 9 and 10. And yes, the original intent was to post here once a day, but I really kind of picked the worst possible time to get started with that because I am in a bit of a mental lull lately. Extraction took a lot out of me. It was a story that fought me every step of the way. And while I'm really proud with the end result, it really did exhaust me creatively, it exhausted me mentally, and it put me in a headspace where there are days, particularly with, you know, I work a full-time job. I work Monday through Friday, usually around 8 to 6:30, and there are days that I reach the end of it and I'm completely ready to write, to create content, to brainstorm ideas for what I want to do next. But then there are other days that I get to the end of it and I don't have anything left in me other than to just sit there and kind of, rot. And I think that I've realized I need to avoid any particular goal that is going to put me in the headspace of feeling like I'm letting someone else down. Because ultimately, the whole point of being able to post stuff like this, it is to give myself a voice, a place where I can talk about the things that are on my mind. It is not to add yet another log to the fire that's stressing me out and that's bringing me to a slow simmer. That was a convoluted metaphor, but we're going to stick with it. So, I think instead what I'm going to do is try to make sure that I'm doing this on a semi-regular basis. 3-4 times a week. I will stick with the days because I do want to do it on a regular basis throughout the year. And there are going to be weeks that I have a lot to say and I'm on here quite a bit. And then there are going to be other weeks where maybe 1 or 2 posts is the most that I can kind of put together. And I need to be okay with that because at the end of the day, this vlog is specifically for me. It's not for anyone else. But one of the things I did want to talk about is I am at the beginning of my videography journey. I like doing things well. I like, when I get into something new, I like figuring out a way to ramp up my levels and hit that 90% mark. Somebody told me once that it's that it's relatively easy to get 90% of the skills towards mastery. It's that last 10% that people then spend decades working their way through. And that if you can learn a few fundamental concepts, if you can focus on mastering just a few basic things, you will be better than 90% of the people at that particular task. And, I found that to be true in a lot of areas. And so I want to learn to do videography to a competent level. I want to learn to do it well. But one of the things that I'm quickly coming to realize is that, just like a lot of other hobbies, this is an absolute rabbit hole of gear. And if you want to, you can easily drop $10, $20, $50,000 on gear. And the thing that always fascinates me is that whenever I start a new hobby, whenever I start texting my friends about, hey, I'm doing this, or hey, I have questions about this, because of the world we live in, immediately when I hop on Instagram, I get nothing but advertisements for gear and equipment and software that supports that particular hobby. Which is always, part of me, it's kind of fun to see. It's like, oh, look, here's a lens cap that can make your photos look like a disposable camera. Oh, look, here are 30 Lightroom filters that will make your photographs look like X, Y, or Z. And it's always fun to look at those. But the interesting thing that I've realized is that all of them have this position in their marketing that basically says, this item, this tool, this piece of equipment, this piece of software will level you up. It will make you a better photographer. It will make you a better videographer. It will make you better at that. And the fact is that anyone who's participated in any style of art, Patton's apparently going to make jingle jangles throughout this whole video, and we're just all going to have to be okay with that. So anyone who's tried to make any kind of art has learned very, very quickly that there is no magic tool out there. I remember a story about, I think it was NYU's game development program. One year, they did something where their freshman year students, they told them, none of the games you design will be on computer. You will do nothing but board game design. And that was very, very confusing for a lot of them, but what they explained to them was that the principles of game design are common between whatever type of play that you're doing. The things that make a game engaging, make it fun, the things that cause it to trip up, the things that cause it to slow down, the things that make it boring, all of those are common regardless of what the media is that you're using to create that game. And if you can learn those using a limited tool set, if you can learn to make something fun using pen and paper and cardboard and glue and glitter and whatever other tools you can get from like Michael's, you can find yourself in a position where when you start getting access to the bigger tools, you now know what to do with them. And so that's the flow that it needs to go in. You need to master the fundamentals of a craft before you start picking up tools. Because the problem is, let's say we're talking about something like oil painting. There are oil paints out there that cost a small fortune, but if you do not know how to paint, they are not going to make you a great painter. In fact, you're not going to even really be able to comprehend the benefit that they offer, because you haven't been doing this long enough to know what the difference is between the different the tools, the different resources out there. And so I have a decent little setup here. I have, the Sony ZV-E10, which is what I'm filming on right now. I have a Neewer lav mic that I'm using right now. I've got some decent key lights and stuff like that, and I'm trying to keep this relatively simple, but even with what I understand, there's definitely the temptation to be like, oh man, but if I had like the DJI so-and-so, if I had a drone that could just follow me around filming whatever I did, if I had, a $3,000 camera that could do X, Y, and Z, that would make it so that my videos were really, really good and everybody would want to watch them. And the fact is, I know that that's garbage. I know that there's not a piece of equipment out there that I can buy that will immediately make my videos more engaging to a large chunk of the population. I need to take the tools that I have now and I need to leverage them and utilize them and find my way of telling a story into the camera that engages people. And until I learn those basics, until I learn those fundamentals, investing in new equipment's not going to do anything for me. So that's where we're at now. Beyond that, the journey to create those weird little keychains has continued. Thankfully, it went much better than it did last week. I switched to resin, which, while a little more complex to use up front, looks exactly what they should look like. On the next version of this, I will show some of the finished products, but they look great, they're sturdy, they're reliable, and I think they're going to make great little merch things. I also got some stickers. So there is a surly donkey in my book named Stuart that I threw in as just kind of a throwaway joke, and the reality is that everybody has responded really well to Stuart. Everybody loves Stuart. I've gotten several threats from some friends of imminent harm to come to me if I let anything happen to Stuart. So I got some Stuart stickers, and I've got a few other things planned for signed copy releases, which I will be selling both through my website and the TikTok shop. And then this weekend, I am going to be doing a book signing at the Friends of Smyrna Library event here in Smyrna, Tennessee. It's my hometown.